According to metabolism specialist Dr. Ben Bickman, the fat cells in our bodies don't expand due to consuming excessive calories. Instead, they enlarge when insulin spikes occur. In my laboratory at BYU, I have students cultivating fat cells in petri dishes right at this moment. These cells are immersed in a nutrient rich medium packed with all the calories they could possibly require. Yet they remain small and don't increase in size at all until we introduce one key element. As soon as insulin is added to the mix, the fat cells begin to swell. If we examine them after 6 hours, a large lipid droplet appears. Another 6 hours pass, and it's grown even more. Real world clinical data further demonstrates insulin's role in expanding fat cells and promoting weight gain. Essentially, this confirms that obesity stems from hormonal factors rather than purely from habits. Therefore, if weight loss is your goal, focusing on calorie counting or grueling exercise sessions may not be the most effective approach. The key lies in adopting metabolic techniques that reduce insulin levels, as that's where true advancements happen. Indeed, the strongest proof comes from humans themselves, showing that fat accumulation is impossible without elevated insulin. A sadly prevalent issue among young individuals with type 1 diabetes is an eating disorder known as diabulimia, a heartbreaking situation where the person, driven by the desire to stay slim, realizes that their insulin injections control fat storage completely. They intentionally take less insulin than needed to maintain the thinness they seek. They can consume whatever amount of food they desire, and provided they keep the insulin dose deliberately low, not even absent, they'll remain as slender as they wish. Of course, this comes at a severe metabolic cost. They experience hypoglycemia and ketoacidosis, which can be fatal, but they achieve the leanness they crave. Despite claims that it's solely about calories, this human example definitively disproves that notion. Numerous specialists view fasting as one of the top metabolic methods available. However, Dr. Ben Bickman notes that fasting varies greatly from person to person and isn't always feasible. It demands readiness and significant self control. As a more straightforward option, he recommends what's called the insulin trick. The concept involves cleverly navigating your body's responses with targeted eating patterns to manage insulin effectively. For example, many aren't aware that insulin levels are elevated immediately upon awakening due to what's called the dawn phenomenon. As morning approaches and we near wakefulness, cortisol surges upward. This is a beneficial and normal process that occurs in everyone during sleep. Around 4 a.m. or so, a few hours prior to rising, cortisol begins to increase substantially. This rise is believed to prepare the body as it awakens, with the brain and nervous system reactivating and overall metabolic needs growing. The elevated cortisol prompts the liver to degrade its glycogen stores and release glucose into the blood. Consequently, blood sugar often rises upon waking, which can make some individuals slightly more insulin resistant in the morning. This is a typical occurrence and explains my tendency to describe mornings as periods of insulin resistance. This insight is eye opening. Even those practicing intermittent fasting by omitting dinner frequently notice minimal benefits. The reason is that the period right after waking poses the greatest risk for fat storage. Food consumed within the initial 2 hours tends to get stored as fat instead of being burned for fuel. This happens because of a hormonal fluctuation, particularly involving cortisol and insulin. To counteract it, simply delay eating. Avoid rushing to prepare food immediately after getting up. Your body supplies a quick energy boost naturally in the early morning. Make the most of it. Dedicate 20 to 30 minutes to organizing your schedule, taking a brief stroll, or tackling some easy tasks. During this time, your mind and physique are operating at optimal levels, so capitalize on that opportunity. When you do eat, proceed leisurely. Steer clear of a breakfast loaded with sugars and carbs. Turn it into a deliberate practice, allowing the aromas, noises, and preparation steps to gently transition your system into digesting mode. This method recalibrates your metabolism and establishes a foundation for better health throughout the day. The easiest tactic, in my view, is to alter your breakfast starting tomorrow. Overnight fasting offers remarkable benefits. Insulin decreases in a fasted condition, restoring the body's sensitivity to it. After fasting through the night, your insulin has finally dropped in the morning. The worst choice would be to trigger an insulin surge with a breakfast full of starches and sugars. Sadly, breakfast worldwide has essentially become a dessert dominated by pure sugar and refined carbs. I'd advise transforming your breakfast right away. Dr. Bickman also emphasizes that cortisol is closely tied to your daily rhythm and stress responses. Put simply, insufficient sleep registers as stress to your body. This can cause your morning cortisol to double or triple compared to usual levels, which in turn elevates insulin. Under those circumstances, maintaining your routine becomes tougher. You'll experience stronger hunger, reduced self discipline, and heightened urges for sweet treats. Cortisol's influence on metabolism extends to the brain, where it impacts hunger and desires for food. Predictably, it heightens cravings for carbs in particular. Cortisol passes through the blood-brain barrier and attaches to glucocorticoid receptors in areas like the hypothalamus and amygdala, which handle appetite and pleasure. This leads individuals to feel positive about their actions. In the hypothalamus, cortisol boosts proteins such as NPY, neuropeptide Y, and AGRP, a GUDI-related protein, via glucocorticoid response elements, and their activation heightens hunger. Simultaneously, cortisol may disrupt leptin signals, diminishing feelings of fullness. Independently, in the amygdala, cortisol amplifies dopamine, intensifying desires for highly appealing, calorie-rich foods. Eliminating any breakfast elements that could cause insulin spikes is equally vital, and that goes beyond carbohydrates alone. Coffee can contribute to the issue as well. As Dr. Ben Bickman describes, caffeine can elevate insulin, particularly alongside carbs. With cortisol already peaked in the morning, releasing extra glucose into your system, having coffee first thing can provoke a strong insulin reaction, even on an empty stomach. I'd like to draw attention to this specific research from about 2 decades ago. The study measured how caffeine amplifies insulin release when paired with glucose intake or carbohydrate consumption. Normally, carbs raise blood sugar, prompting insulin to rise and normalize it. But when carbs are combined with substantial caffeine, insulin must exert far greater effort to manage the glucose. For this reason, delaying coffee in the morning is advisable. It maintains hormonal equilibrium and avoids early metabolic strain. Fundamentally, Dr. Ben Bickman's insulin trick revolves around understanding your hormone dynamics precisely. The morning stands out as the ideal window to leverage this knowledge, since it's when insulin behavior is most foreseeable. As the day progresses, that predictability diminishes. Thus, nailing your morning routine is essential, as it influences the rest of your day. The interplay of cortisol and insulin dictates your hunger levels and whether overeating becomes more probable. A properly timed, equilibrated breakfast initiates fat utilization and signals your body to expend energy rather than hoard it. Naturally, this isn't an instant transformation. Dr. Bickman's approach isn't designed for flashy results. It's an initial step, yet a potent one. It positions your body in a mode where weight reduction feels more achievable and enduring without requiring drastic measures.